here in Lundu in Sarawak, Malaysia. We are, of course, here with the Grand Platypus Open, once again, number 74. We thought we might not get it, but mate, there ain't nothing, not even side effects from vaccines, that little bit of Dare Ice coffee can't fix. We are, of course, going to be kicking things off here. I am, of course, the Yakuzaku of Dizaku. And with me today is La Cazadora de Ciervos que no tiene miedo, Light_VIP. How we doing, Light?
What's up, Yaku? Yes, we are here. We are back. And honestly, I wasn't even sure we were even going to have a game. There was some chat going on. Soundo, I see you in the chat as well. Stop encouraging him. Oh my god. What's happening right now is that one of our ducks, the one right in front of us here, he's like going through a phase right now. He's like rebelling against his parents, you know. He's doing his own thing. He thinks he knows what's good for him, but he doesn't know, mate. He doesn't know at all. God. Ay.
We need to keep him away from the bad influences before he himself influences the rest of our kids.
It's too late. It's too late. The infection is spreading, man.
And it all starts with this guy here, spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, spawning all the way in the bottom left-hand corner of Oxide, a red Protoss player from the land of Sydney Abba, representing our very own Cranky Ducklings, although that may be subject to change if he doesn't fall back in line. He is StarDuck.
And spawning in the top right-hand corner of Oxide LE, we have the other Australian player, the Australian Zerg player. He is blue, representing the Cranky Ducklings as well. It is Oreo.
Uh-oh.
Oh my god, it's been so long since we've casted these guys. If you remember, if you were here for last week's GPO, StarDuck signed up, but he did not play.
Yeah, I was very distracted trying to... We actually made sure we forced him not to go into the arcade to play Kerrigan Survival 2. And so he said, alright, I'll watch GSL on my phone while waiting instead. He was waiting a long time. Or should I say his opponent was waiting a long time, because...
Yeah. Shaking my head. That's all I can say about that one.
We can do something about that kid.
And my head just won't stop shaking because exclamation mark Funada Chase in the chat as well. Chase, mate, what's going on? You were meant to sign up today. Oh my god, these guys. And he can't even use the excuse. Oh yeah, you know, I'm just getting ready for the qualifier over the weekend. Shaking my head, mate. God damn it, Chase.
You already qualified.
Ay. It's true. We casted it. If you're wondering, by the way, what we are on about during the waiting screen, you saw it. ANZ Champs is on the way. Qualifier number 2 is this weekend, and we will be casting it myself alongside Yaku of the Zaku.
We are once again bright and early in that Saturday morning. One of these players is going to be back in there. The other one having already qualified. And speaking of already qualified, StarDuck, this is not something we see from him too often. Yeah,
oh boy. So I was a little bit afraid of like a proxy Dark Shrine, not gonna lie. But a very interesting proxy here, especially because of, okay, look, now it's time to talk about some StarCraft, because he's going for a glaive opener, but there's no robo.
Yeah! And I found that Robo, your Zerg opponent, will be looking at this and thinking, alright, so it's going to be a glaive timing, but not an overly committed one. He's going to be warping in back home and then bring them across the map. I have some time to build up a defense. Not when there's a proxy being set up.
Exactly, because of this proxy, there are already 3 gateways up and running. Oh my god, this is disgusting. I was about to be like, yo, and because of that, this third base is kind of like a bluff, and it is, but not really, because StarDuck just threw down 2 Stargates.
Yeah, it's a bluff, but also not a bluff. If StarDuck is anticipating that he will have to cancel that base to some link pressure, but if he doesn't, then that's great.
Yeah, his brain
across the map with those depths.
StarDuck's brain is just expanding at an unprecedented rate. Oh my god, meanwhile we do have a pause. Hopefully everything's okay. But a little bit of backstory again, you know, with our two Aussie players here, our only Aussies in the bracket. Even leading into this series, like
Once again,
StarDuck was,
Funara Chase.
yeah, once again for another chase. StarDuck was even threatening Oreo a little bit, or joking, I should say, saying like, "All right, Cannon Rush 3 games in a row, let's go." It's like, oh god.
He does want his games to be done quick. He wants to jump right on back into that arcade.
Yeah, but we can see he was only joking.
To go to the arcade.
Yeah, and like that's why like we have a lot of fun joking about Kerrigan survival, and like I like deep down I know that like he does care and he does practice in his own time. He does do like customs, and like, you know, he's taking this game seriously even though he has been playing a lot of arcade. Speaking of, Oreo, he's getting ready for a big boy push.
Indeed, he is. Oreo, well aware that StarDuck is one to go for massive Stargate styles, and he has been honing, perfecting even the craft of the Queen Walk.
That he has.
Instead of Hydras.
Yeah, and the thing is that StarDuck hasn't seen this at all. Like, if you look at his scouting information, he's barely seen anything. He's decided to do his own thing. Now the Adepts are coming in, and they can deal a lot of damage, but in come the Lings and the Queens, and this third base is dead, mate.
Time for a base trade.
It's gonna be very interesting base trade. The Adepts, they shade in. I mean, there's nothing to stop them, to be fair, so they can deal a lot of damage. But likewise, Oreo, he realizes, mate, I don't want your third. I want you.
Oh, that's the line I'm gonna use. But yeah, it's not to stop those Adepts back at home, but it's really nothing to stop the march here either. StarDuck trying to buy himself a lot of time to get more Void Race out. There's a very limited amount of anti-air right now. I will say for Oreo, he's to be so careful with his Queens.
Yeah, exactly. The Queens, they're not really taking a part of this fight. Like, the choke point is working very well here for StarDuck, but finally the Queens, they push through. Meanwhile, on the outside of the map, the Adepts are dealing a lot of damage. 13 probes have already gone down. The probes are being pulled, by the way.
That's a massive sign of desperation. It does draw a bit of a buffer here for StarDuck, but will it be enough? Both players, workers are dropping like flies. The first Void Ray goes down. And Oreo, he still has transfused energy on those Queens. StarDuck has not a single shield battery. He does have a little bit of a bank, but barely any gas, so he can get a couple more Void Rays out, but that's going to be about it.
Oh my god,
what's the fight going to be?
The transfuses are there! Like, oh my god, the single the command, no! Oh my god!
How did you queen? Oh, I got so worried there for a second, but that mistake may just about be enough to cost Oreo the game.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I 100% agreed with you. Like, there was six Queens there with high energy. Like, they should have won that engagement. But the move command, the lack of transfuses, the reason for that, Oreo was defending at home. He was dealing with the Adepts, he was rallying his roaches, and that was the wrong moment to look away because it did cost him his Queens. And now StarDuck, he's defended, and the worker count is even.
That they are, which can only benefit the Protoss player, especially when they've got 5 Void Rays. Actually, I was about to say 4. No, wait. 4 Void Rays.
Yeah, and with that, the third base will fall. Oreo, there's only 3 Queens left. He does have a couple of spores, but they're not in the best position. Oh.
Yeah, once again, the anti-air very much limited. Even if Oreo survives this, StarDuck can just contain him on 2 bases for as long as possible. He's on 3 bases himself.
Oh, that was a really clutch transfuse. In the end, the Queen survived, but now the Adepts are getting into the mineral line. More workers are going down. Where are the roaches from earlier? They're across the map, but there's a reinforcing Void Ray.
Yeah, and with the limited amount of roaches here, actually, that one Void Ray can do a ton. Regardless, StarDuck will recall a couple of Void Rays.
Yeah, that he will.
It's starting to get very brutal.
Yeah, he's going to be able to clean this up. But again, StarDuck is losing a lot of workers, and now Oreo has finally relieved that pressure that he was under. So now we're in a really weird place. The biggest problem is that this third base survived, right?
Yeah, it survived, it's saturated. That means that StarDuck's got triple pro production.
Yeah.
Plus the army production on every single one of the rest of his buildings. Compare that to Oreo, who is already lacking in larva.
Exactly. Meanwhile, the high energy queen does get focused down, but it does back off just barely in time. Oreo, he has defended, and right now he needs his third base. He doesn't just need a third, he needs to double expand, get a fourth base up and running, get his tech up as well. His back is up against the wall right now.
It really is. He needs to relieve that a little bit.
Yeah,
slow down. Instead, it's going to be very risky to go for a double expand, but
no.
This is the time for risk. The natural base is going to go down. The queens, despite the creep connection, were just a little bit too out of position to get back in time.
Yeah, exactly. And unfortunately, there were no spores here. The spores, they were repositioned earlier here over in the main base, which makes sense. He was anticipating StarDuck to come in and try and snipe the main, not the natural. So once again, Oreo is stuck on two bases.
Yeah, it feels like every time Oreo tries to get a base up, another one goes down. It's like a reverse Hydra.
It took me a while to piece that together. Yeah? Oh, God. Because look, saying Hydra in the context of a StarCraft game has very different connotations, okay? I was like, what? God damn it.
It was devolved from a lurker.
There you go, there you go. Meanwhile, we were talking about that main base earlier. These void rays, this is the awful thing about void rays. They can threaten the third base, and they can just dip straight into the main.
Yeah, even without flux veins, when your anti-air is limited like this, when you're on such a low-tech economy as Oreo is, queens take quite some time to go back and forth. The lair is going to go down, and this is even before Oreo can get a Spire or a Hydra dead out.
Yeah, exactly. Now Oreo's stuck on one, but no! He's going to be stuck on 0 bases! The Hydra's dead!
Oh, no. GG is called. And StarDuck takes game number 1. He said he wanted quick games. That was not quite as quick as he would like, I imagine, but yeah, that was tough. I'm sure every experienced StarCraft player could tell you multiple stories of when they looked away for a second and that basically cost them that entire game. Definitely a case here with Oreo and those queens.
Yeah, definitely. Aye. It's such a shame as well because, like, again, that was looking like a kill move there for Oreo. Like, that was about to win him the game if he had taken down those void rays and held that position across the map, but looked away at the wrong moments, and yeah, swung in StarDuck's favor.
Yep. He wasn't quite able to close it out yet, but let's be honest, he kind of won from that position.
Yeah, pretty much. It was very clutch up until that point. Regardless, the game was very scrappy, right? Very back and forth. Workers were going down left and right. Oh boy, but we'll see if we can make it to the ace match.
That we shall. We are loading into our next map, which tends to be a little bit more... Oh, no, never mind. It tends to be a little bit more Protoss favorite, but that is why it's going to work to Oreo's advantage. It's going to lull StarDuck into a false sense of security.
Oh yeah, show us the 12 pool.
Yeah. Just a proxy racks. But speaking of our next map, here we are on Jagannatha KBBLE. We're in the top right-hand corner map, spawning all the way in the top right-hand corner. We have our red Protoss player coming down from the land of Sitniaba. He is going to be representing ourselves, our very own Cranky Ducklings. Almost the spokesperson at this point. Just, I mean, look at that name. Can you tell me that there's ever been a more fitting name? He is StarDuck.
And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Jagannatha LE, we have the Australian Zerg player. He is blue, representing the Cranky Ducklings, currently down 0-1. But he makes his opponents go, uh-oh, it is Oreo.
And he definitely made StarDuck go uh-oh for a couple of seconds that last game.
He did. It was
I
close.
need to make it a little bit more permanent.
Also, I love me and Mike in the chat. Like, wow, such great skill. Void Ray goes up and down the hill. Impressive. Oh my god. What I will say is a lot of that came down to StarDuck, like his grace under pressure. Like, even though there was a lot of chaos going on and there was just, you know, workers going down the like in his natural, at his third, in his main, like he did know what he needed to do to like hold on and how many losses he could sustain.
Yep. He knew what he could get away with across the map. He knew he could camp the Adepts for a couple of seconds while he went back home, checked the defense. All right, things are good. How my Adepts doing?
Yeah, pretty much. We'll see if that'll happen again. What I will say is that we're on Jagannatha. We got the speed zones. We have the forward third. I wouldn't be surprised if Oreo goes for another Queen March.
Oh, he's gotta from here, right?
Yeah.
And you don't take a forward third base like that as a Zerg player unless you're looking to be aggressive. That just opens up so many potential openings for your opponent.
And it's one of those things where, to be fair, in game number one, as we saw, like if his attention had just been you know, directed elsewhere, Oreo definitely could have taken that game. So maybe he's thinking the same thing. Maybe he's like, oh, you know I could have executed that a little bit better. I know that I could have pulled it off. But the problem is that, you know, now that we're in game 2, StarDuck, he has a little bit more information to work off. He knows that the possibility is there for a Queen March.
Yeah, looking at how StarDuck is building so far, I feel like this could honestly kind of go either way. As you were saying, Oreo, he did very well in that previous engagement, despite all of those Adepts messing up his mineral lines. This time, he's not going to have to worry about that, but StarDuck is going to be getting the Void Race out quite a bit quicker.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how this is gonna play out. I mean, Oreo, he scouts at least, so he knows what StarDuck is up against or what he's up to. You know, there is no Twilight Council. I say that StarDuck has a very suspicious pylon out on the map.
Yeah, that ain't a spotter, especially if you think your opponent's going for a Queen March.
This is crazy, by the way. Like I've seen proxies down here in the bottom right, but in the center, are we gonna see a Twilight? Oh my god! He killed the Overlord.
Oh my, he did. He killed the He made sure the Void Ray was attacking the Overlord, and then he threw down the Twilight Council. We're getting it, ain't we?
Mate. The Dark Shrine, it's gotta be coming. Like, that's what all of this is leading up to. We'll see. Oreo, he is missing a lot of information. He does need to go in for another secondary scout, but the Lings are being cleaned up.
It's one Void Race, the absolute MVP so far. Watch him throw down a Robo facility instead.
Mate, he would have lost his mind. I'm waiting for it. Oh, charge gets started up instead.
Okay. Proxy Templar Archives. Charge an Archon. No, probably not. I'm super curious what that pylon is for now, because maybe he's paranoid about Mutas? And he wants a spotter?
I mean, it can still be a reinforcement point. To be fair, he can still throw down the Dark Shrine if he so wished. We'll see if he does use it. Meanwhile, there it is. Just a gateway.
Yeah, that's a gateway. Okay, so yeah, really not looking to get a Robo facility at all in this series. And that is a pretty good reinforcement point, as you were saying.
It really is.
Middle of
the
map, and yeah.
So he could
relatively close to most of the bases.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Oreo, he's kind of checking the bases, right? He confirms that the third base is on the way, that there was a bit of a commitment into the Void Race, but unfortunately, he hasn't really been able to confirm the gas count. That is a big tell that, of course, there are charge lots on the way. He does have a Roach Warren, which isn't bad, but if he did know that the charge was being researched, we would probably see a Bathing Nest. Oh.
Yeah, we would. Instead, he's going once again for the Roach Warren, which is, typically the safer bet for ZVP, but not when you're up against charge. We've seen many Protoss players use this assumption from their Zerg opponents to their advantage. Beastork in the past, and now StarDuck.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, meanwhile, mate, there's a lot of charges coming in. Charge is done. Yeah. Yep, second Stargate is on the way, so StarDuck can transition into that Sky Toss, which of course we all know he knows and loves. He's now starting to push out on the map. We do have a couple of queens to meet the Void Race. Nicely done here by Oreo. He does have roaches on the way.
But that's yeah, the queens are being drawn out by to meet the Void Race, but that's exactly what StarDuck wants. He wants to pin down these queens with his chargelets. Now Oreo knows, and he is kicking himself, because to tell you what's not done, like the Spire or a Baneling Nest.
Yeah, they are not. Meanwhile, this time the transfusions are on point, but the chargelets are getting on top of everything, and the queens are falling left and right. And the problem is that if these queens die, what is the anti-air?
Nothing. A single spore by that third base, another one by the natural, nothing else. Oh, the Void Race are actually idle.
Yeah.
Charges have been dealt with, but now the Queen's Tower of Energy. Is it going to be enough DPS from the Zerg side?
Oh,
just enough to chase them away.
That it is. StarDuck, he looked away to warp in some chargelets, and unfortunately there was a period there, a very significant period, where the Void Rays just weren't doing any damage. What's also important is that Oreo didn't sustain any losses at his third base. Like, he evacuated it prematurely. He didn't lose any workers. Like, that was fine.
It really was his continuing mind from there. He even finished up his fourth base while that was all going on. Tech-wise, he's looking pretty fantastic as he just continues to get his upgrades. He's eventually going to get that I almost said Banshee. Baneling Nest. And his Mutalisk count is getting higher and higher.
Yeah, and what's important is that StarDuck hasn't seen that. He didn't spot the Spire at all. He didn't manage to get that far into the base. So this Muta switch, I mean, we've seen Protoss time and time again fall to them if it goes unscouted, if they're not ready for the Mutas.
This water pylon is actually going to come into play light.
Oh my god!
I told you! It spots the Mutas every time!
Did he see it though? Because we don't see a response yet. I know Oreo definitely saw the proxy with the Mutas, but they didn't attack it by any means. So it looks like StarDuck hasn't noticed. Yeah. Like, we don't see shield batteries in the mineral lines. Or cannons.
Yeah, the pylon saw it. StarDuck hasn't.
Yeah, the pylon knows. Meanwhile, we have a couple of roaches go. Oh, did he spot the Mutas coming out? Oh.
He has now. Unfortunate. I was gonna say, I really like what Oreo did, where he sent the roaches to deal the proxy instead of the Mutas, so he could have that element of surprise still. But yeah, unfortunate timing on that rally.
Yeah, exactly. And because of that, like, Oreo, he's been waiting to bank up these Mutas, and he's just giving StarDuck more and more time to bank up those Phoenixes. So far, there are only two, and they're left idle. The Mutas, they dive on top of them.
They are left idle. Not enough time to kite these away. One of them will be drawn away. And actually buys a lot of time. These probes should have been dead by now. But they are not. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, a ton of chargelets are wreaking havoc. And Oreo's trying to push in.
Yeah, that he is.
The main army.
The chargelets are dealing a lot of damage, but in comes that main army that you were talking about. The army of StarDuck is here to meet him. The Void Rays are on the way. And with these Void Rays, StarDuck should be able to just swat these roaches away. Ugh.
Yeah, Oreo right now trying to go for a bit of a multi-prong. A lot of roaches starting to fall. And this is very important for Oreo to be able to split apart the army like that as he wreaks havoc on the economy of StarDuck. But he needs to be very careful. If he loses one of his armies, ground or air, that just sets StarDuck up for such a potent counterattack.
Well, I mean, that's what's happening right now. It's one of those things where StarDuck, he just lost his entire mineral line at the main base and at the natural. He is now all in. He's sending it across the map, and I'm worried that Oreo won't have enough to hold off against all these Void Rays.
Yeah, the Mutas are across the map right now. If they go home right now, they may be able to meet them, but they still have to be careful about the Phoenixes. Spores are on the way.
Oh my god.
Oreo needs to buy time. Will he get that time?
That is the question here. The Mutas are returning, and they're diving on top of the Void Rays.
Haluk! Almost saves him, but Oreo, with the target firing, is able to chase it away. When it's all said and done, Oreo, he lost hatchery and not much else. GG is called. Oreo is able to type that series sideways. Juan on the map that's favored against Zerg.
GG. What I'm impressed about is that we didn't see a queen push. I was like, yo, I was.
Yeah.
I was almost certain that that's what we were going to see. And to be fair, like, maybe Oreo was working on that, but as we saw, like, you know, that was kind of thwarted once the charge lots came in. Oreo, he held beautifully, though, like, again, sustaining very minimal losses. And once again, things did get a little bit chaotic towards the end.
Yeah. All those Halukes. I don't know what that was about. Who was it we casted this weekend that did that? Was it Nice?
Was it Nice? Or was it Haas? I think it was Haas.
I think it was one of the Taiwanese players. Haas, yes. Who just... Oh no, it was Creator!
Was it Creator?
He would Haluk a bunch of Immortals every time in his defense.
Yeah. Well, we saw it in the PvP. I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah. I call all the Protoss players just blending together in our brains.
Like, there was a lot of Protoss that weekend. Okay, it was a lot of Protoss. Oh god. But yeah, GG, nicely done there by Oreo. I was concerned that the mutas were eventually scattered, but to be fair, when they were scattered, there was already a decent flock of them, right? We saw, you know, StarDuck only had enough time to get 2 Phoenixes out by the time the mutas got into his main.
Absolutely. Such a good job of hiding him for so long, and it really paid off. And again, the mutas alone would not have been enough. It was really key that Oreo was able to pull away the Void Rays and, well, mostly the Void Rays and a couple of sentries from the main base, so the mutas could wreak havoc. This is a map we're having a race match on? All right, I'm into it.
Uh-oh. I unfortunately didn't get to see in time. Just quickly setting something up. A bit of a reminder, ! Matcherino in the chat. If you want to help support this tournament, there have been some changes made to Matcherino. Because of that, there are now many codes available. 20 codes in total, if I'm not mistaken. So you can help support the tournament by clicking that claim coupon button and adding 50 cents to the prize pool.
Yeah, a bit of an unfortunate change. Used to be $1, but I will say it has never been easier to redeem a Matcherino code. So you might as well, you know? Might as well. In fact, I'm going to do that right after I get this intro done here on Blackburn LE. Over here in the bottom right-hand corner map, spawning all the way in the bottom right-hand corner, we have the red Protoss player coming down from the land of Sydney Abba. He is going to be representing the Cranky Ducklings ourselves, as well as Kerrigan, I suppose. He is StarDuck.
And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Blackburn LE, we have the Australian Zerg player. He is blue, representing the Cranky Ducklings, as well as we're in our Duckling team kill. Feels bad, man. Feels bad. It is Oreo.
Yeah, if this was a single elimination bracket, I would be riding on the streets. How could we? How could we have the team kill this early on? But it is a double elimination bracket that we have today, so I'm not in as much of a riding mood as I otherwise would be. You know, whoever gets knocked out here goes down to the lower bracket. There will be another chance for them.
That's their will. So again, being in the chat if you want to have a look at the brackets. There is that double elimination bracket that you were talking about, so it's not the end. It's not the end for either of these players, but personally I'm happy that we're going to the ace match. You know, obviously ideally this doesn't happen and we don't have 2 Ducklings face against each other, but at least, you know, they were both
except for in the finals.
Except for in the finals, true. Oh god, but at least they were both able to take some games here, and we'll see how this ends. I'm surprised that game 3 is Blackburn. Oh my god.
Yeah. Which, I mean, it can really favor either the Protoss or the Zerg player, depending on how they decide to, depending on what what build and what strategy they decide to go for. But I don't know. I still feel like I tend to favor the non-Zerg races on Blackburn.
Yeah,
Queen Marchers are insane though. I'll give you that.
They
Berserk.
are. Yeah, and we've already seen that once from Oreo. That's why I'm a little bit concerned about whether or not he should try it again. We'll see, because we have seen, the Muta switch in game 2, the Queen March in game 1. Once again, he did take the forward natural base. The creep thread is already starting, headed towards his opponent, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be a Queen Walk.
It doesn't, but keep in mind, he hasn't immediately gone for gold.
True.
So...
I mean, look, we're not casting me in
use that as you... Yeah, not yet, anyway.
Like, it's not Chase we're casting right now, right? It should be.
I've seen them both in... I've seen them both in chat. I'm sure they're both taking down notes. So it's like, all right, we can coach Oreo for you. We have some tips. And we're like, no.
I'm sure they're both looking at this game and they're very confused. They're like, the Zerg player hasn't taken the gold? What? Huh? What's going on right now?
Is that allowed?
Is that legal? Oh my god.
How's the FBI not knocking down his door?
Oh god. But it's one of those things where you're talking about Queen Marches being good on this map. Likewise, Skytoss is very good as well. The rush distance by air is very short. We have that famed hill that me and Micah was talking about, that you can just go from the third into the main, back and forth. There are slow zones and they can complicate things a little bit, but not by a massive amount.
Yeah. It's not enough inertia as the void rays go down the hill. There was a metaphor in there somewhere. I liked what Mio Micah was doing. If the void rays go up, void rays go down. But I lost it. I had something.
Can't explain that, mate.
Can't explain the GG.
Aye. Meanwhile, we were talking about the void rays, and we're going to see plenty of them because we do have just 2 Stargates, and we do have that +1 air attack on the way.
Yeah, so we're going to be very dedicated to Stargate plays. He is getting forged, so he could switch into gateways later down the line, but that's mostly just going to be for cannons. He doesn't want to keep his Stargate army back home. He wants them across the map. He doesn't want to have to deal with any surprise mutalisks or any other units that Oreo uses to harass.
Yeah, that's one of the things about the new turtle Skytoss style, right? The Zest style, if you will, that he popularized last year even, where you just expand and then you throw down a bunch of stack defense, shield batteries and cannons, and you rely on your Skytoss and a minimal amount of units to defend until you get your maxed out endgame army. It's disgusting. It's absolutely it's absolutely disgusting.
And it's all and there was a time where that was all he did.
I mean, that's what we're seeing right now.
And it wins.
Yeah, it wins. That's the thing. It does. The cannons have started. The shield batteries have started. Meanwhile, the queens are pushing out. Oreo has finished droning. 55 drones is all this man needs because the Queen March is on the way.
And it is a couple of roaches as well to help buffer. Going to be a massive help against these cannons too. Couple of good, well-placed biles, and that is going to be the end of that, but it's also a very big if Oreo can land those biles.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, we have 4 shield batteries on the way, but they're not done yet, so StarDuck has to be careful with how he defends. I love that he's already started shield batteries at the natural. They're ready to, or prepared to hold it at the natural instead of the third base. He does force back some of these Ravagers, but the transfuses are on point.
And they are. Oreo not losing too much here. Ooh. Shield battery out of overcharge, another shield battery out of energy, a decent concave that these queens have got on top of the void rays, but it does not look like it's going to be enough quite yet. Queens are trying to chase these void rays away while the rest of the ground army heads straight for the natural base. As you're saying, there are some shield batteries here, but what units are there to make use of it? One void ray.
Exactly, only one void ray. So the Lings, they do flood in. They're going to be able to take down every single worker here at the natural. Meanwhile, the void rays take note of it and they abandon the third base. They're trying to keep up, but it's too late. The Lings, they flood into the main.
They've dealt with all the workers in natural, and they are not done yet. Here's some hungry Lings looking for some probes for breakfast. A lot of queens have been dealt with, so there may be a scenario where StarDuck holds and then is able to macro out, but it's 54 workers to 35.
Exactly, and more importantly, the production is depowered. Both Stargates, they were just about to pop out 2 more Void Rays. Oh my god, that's a lot of that's a lot of pylons. As StarDuck, he's trying to get everything back up and running. He's trying to stabilize, but he's losing so many probes here. Oh my god, he's down to 16.
He's literally okay. Now he's mining 0. There was a point where he was mining literally just 80 minerals a second. Give or take.
Exactly, and what I'm proud of is that Oreo, he wasn't tunnel visioning. Hydrogen is actually already done. Hydras are already on the way. Like, he's getting ready for the second wave.
Yeah, he was continuing to produce queens throughout all of this. He droned up a little bit once he realized I cannot kill, or once he realized that there's a possibility that I won't kill StarDuck here outright. And now he's just set to go into the mid game, where StarDuck, he was sent back to Stone Age, pretty much.
Oh god, pretty much we were, oh my god, I can't believe this Void Ray survived. 1 HP Void Ray!
Literally 1.
Oh my god, it does survive, but the problem is that now, how do you deal with the Hydras? You need splash damage, you need charge, you need Archons, you need something more than just Void Rays. You
really do. Especially when all of these Hydras get out. Groove Spines is about halfway done, and once they are, that is just about going to be the final nail in the coffin for these Void Rays. You cannot hide in dead air any longer.
Yeah, exactly. Like, nice shield battery, nice positioning on these Void Rays, but there's just too much DPS here on it. The Hydras, the Void Rays, they are being focused down. The Hydras are going down, though, and the Queens are running out of energy.
That they are really starting to get thin now, but no! Oreo drew the Void Rays just out of shield battery range.
Oh, exactly. Out of range. Shield batteries also out of energy as well. No more energy. Okay, that was the last transfuse, and he does just barely force StarDuck back. StarDuck, he's worked his way up in the worker count. Still less than half workers compared to Oreo there.
Yeah, he's got twice the amount of workers he had at the end of that assault. Still half of his opponents.
Yeah. And the Hydras, they just don't stop coming.
And they don't stop coming. Even a Spore Crawler to anchor this all down.
Why
More
not?
queens are coming across the map. What were we saying, Light? How insane queen marches and Hydra timings are on this map.
Oh yeah, the highway.
Once you get the highway up and running.
Exactly, the highway gets up and running incredibly quickly, and just like that, it's already here at the bases, at the front door of StarDuck. StarDuck is trying to just barely hold on with what he has, force another overcharge a little bit prematurely, you could argue, but oh god, this just... I just don't know how this doesn't trade favor. Obviously, you have to be careful if you're Oreo. You have to make sure you're still transfused, but there's just so much, right?
There's just so much for Oreo and so few for StarDuck. It's better upgrades, but that's not really going to do much against the sheer amount of units that Oreo's got. StarDuck going for a base trade? Question mark?
I mean, he's got to do something, right? He can't just fight this head on. It's just not going to work. Meanwhile, Hydras are chasing down the probes. The probes, we can't. Oh my god, they escaping? Oh no, never mind.
No, they're reinforcing Hydras. We'll deal with them. Void Rays make short work of the buildings, but the Queens are already making their way back across the map. 9 Hydras are being produced at a time.
Yo, but what's important though is
and
that
the rest of the army is...
StarDuck, he kills 2 bases, he can recall, and then without the support of the Queens, can he defend against these Hydras? I doubt it, but I mean, oh no, never mind.
Too little, too late. Oreo is going to take that series 2-1. Yo, he almost didn't sign up today.
He almost didn't. But GG, well played. Oreo does take down his opponent. It is bittersweet here because, you know, we want both of our Ducklings to do well. But yeah, wow, what a game 3. Yeah,
I'm so glad that that's what we had our ace match on.
Yeah, I am as well, and yeah, I really wasn't expecting that. I'm just trying to think back on the vetoes. I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense. I'm sure Oreo didn't want to play on Miranda's side, right? Like, I guess how StarDuck plays.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
kind of renowned for that, and I'm sure StarDuck probably didn't want to play on Beckett Industries either. That he was threatening, and I saw Pez early on. It's like, yeah, no, these are all empty threats being made by StarDuck. True, but if it's Beckett Industries, you can generally bet that StarDuck is gonna cannon rush. He just does not want to play games on that map.
Yeah.
Especially PvZ.
I'll be honest.
It's like, how do I prevent my opponent from being aggressive? Be even more aggressive.
I'm personally surprised we didn't see like a cannon rush on Jagannatha or something, like, or thrown somewhere
When he was
in
already
that
up the game,
series. Yeah. Shocking, mate, shocking. But with that, as you can see on the screen right now, as I quickly switch scenes, Oreo moves on, and StarDuck gets dropped down to face another opponent in the lower bracket.
That he does.